Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's funny, isn't it? How often we talk about what makes a woman beautiful, what makes her attractive, desirable, magnetic, but how rarely we sit down to reflect on what makes a woman truly rare. Not rare because of looks or social status, but rare in spirit, rare in character, rare in the way she shows up in love, in life, in her relationships. A woman you can't forget, not because she's flawless, but because she's grounded, alive, and profoundly intentional. You may have felt this. In the middle of your life, after disappointments, casual dating, maybe even heartbreak, suddenly you realize you're tired of what's common. You're done with superficial attraction and craving something deeper, something more resilient, more refined, more meaningful. And that's why we're having this conversation today. We're talking about the rarest woman in the world, possesses these 8 virtues. And if you are someone, man or woman, who values deep connection, this will resonate with you because these virtues are not random. They are like fingerprints of a woman who lives with emotional mastery, intention, and grace. They shape the way she loves and relates, and they are what makes her unforgettable. Let's go straight into this. I want you to picture a woman who embodies presence. Not the loud kind of presence, but the quiet, magnetic kind that makes you lean in without realizing it. What makes her so compelling? It's because she's centered, and this is where we find the first virtue. 1. Self-possession. This is not about control or ego, but about a calm, embodied authority. She is in possession of herself. She is not frantic, not desperate for attention, not performing a role. She does not allow herself to be fragmented by expectations. You feel it in her pauses, in the way she listens without rushing to speak, in her ability to sit comfortably even in moments of silence. In romance, this shows up in subtle ways. She's not easily thrown off when you delay a text. She's not chasing external validation because her sense of self doesn't depend on how you respond today. Her energy is deliberate, not scattered. And as a man engaging with a woman like this, you feel challenged not because she demands anything from you, but because she invites you into a higher standard just by being. Her self-possession means she's able to see you clearly without needing you to complete her. And that alone creates a different dynamic, a more mature kind of relationship where neither of you is drowning in neediness or projection. But let's go deeper, because what truly distinguishes this rare woman is not just how she holds herself, it's how she holds others. 2. Emotional generosity. Not all love feels generous. Some people give love in ways that feel transactional or conditional. But this woman has mastered the art of emotional giving, not as martyrdom or self-sacrifice, but as an offering from fullness. She doesn't measure affection in points to be redeemed later. When she shows affection, encouragement, empathy, it's not strategic, it's sincere. Her compliments feel rare because they are rare. She doesn't flatter to gain favor, but when she gives a compliment, it penetrates because you know she means it. And when you're with a woman like this, you notice something profound. She doesn't punish you emotionally. She doesn't withhold warmth or use silence as a weapon when she's hurt. Her generosity means she stays present, even in difficult conversations. She makes space for repair, for reconciliation, for nuance. This virtue is stoic in nature because it's rooted in mastery over self. A woman who is emotionally generous has cultivated the discipline to give without immediately needing to receive. She can sit in tension without collapsing into blame or bitterness. Can you imagine how rare that is today? When so many relationships become battlegrounds of withheld affection, sharp retorts, and emotional scorekeeping, this kind of woman feels like a breath of fresh air. Her generosity doesn't make her weak, it makes her strong. It's here that we begin to understand why these women are so rare. Because these virtues require discipline, inner work, emotional courage. and they're not easy to live out in a world that rewards quick gratification, superficial connections, and fleeting validation. As you reflect on this, maybe you realize that these are the very qualities you've been craving, and perhaps these are also the very qualities you could begin to cultivate in yourself, whether you are seeking such a woman or striving to become her. So the rarest woman is not defined by perfection, but by refinement. By choices she makes quietly every day to remain self, possessed when others are reactive, to extend emotional generosity where it would be easy to retreat into indifference or defensiveness. And as you sit with that, notice how the energy begins to shift when you imagine being around someone like this. The quality of the conversation deepens, the pace slows, there's less performance, less noise, more essence. This is what we long for beneath all the surface distractions, a connection that is not cluttered, not rushed, not manipulative, but real, spacious, and kind. Now that we've explored these first two essential virtues, self-possession and emotional generosity, it becomes clear that rarity is not an accident. It's a reflection of conscious practice, of choosing daily to live with grace and integrity. And this is exactly why the rarest woman will never seem desperate or easily available, not because she's playing games, but because her very nature is disciplined. She knows the value of her time, her love, her attention, and as we settle deeper into this reflection, something else emerges about the rarest woman. She doesn't just carry herself with self-possession or show emotional generosity. Her rarity extends to the way she navigates uncertainty and complexity. She's not rigid. She doesn't need the world or you to fit perfectly into her expectations to stay calm or open-hearted. This leads us to the next virtue that sets her apart, and it's one you can almost sense in her presence before she ever speaks. 3. Emotional resilience. This woman has learned how to bend without breaking. Life has shaped her, but hasn't hardened her. She's been through disappointment, rejection, maybe even betrayal, but instead of letting those experiences close her heart or embitter her spirit, she's done the difficult inner work to remain open. Steady and capable of love, her emotional resilience isn't about pretending everything's fine. It's about knowing how to sit with pain without being swallowed by it. She can feel deeply without becoming consumed by emotion when conflict arises, and it always will in human connection. She does not escalate it reflexively. She doesn't collapse into drama or retreat into passive silence. Instead, she engages thoughtfully, firmly, and with an almost graceful detachment that allows her to stay anchored in what matters most: understanding, truth, repair. You'll notice how she recovers faster than most, not because she's indifferent, but because she accepts reality as it is. She doesn't cling to the fantasy of perfect relationships or perfect partners. Instead, she's attuned to the inevitable imperfections of human beings and makes space for them while still honoring her own boundaries. A woman like this invites you to meet her at this same level of resilience. She shows you that relationships aren't about avoiding pain, but about learning how to work through it gracefully. She doesn't threaten to leave at every argument, and she doesn't hold grudges that last for weeks. There's an emotional maturity here that's both calming and challenging, because it requires you to rise up, to meet her strength with your own. Her resilience means you can trust her to hold steady when life shakes things up, and that kind of stability, rare as it is magnetic. And while she's resilient, she's also profoundly intentional about what she brings into her life. She's not aimless or reactive, and this brings us to the fourth virtue that defines the rarest woman. For purposefulness, her time has meaning, her choices are conscious, her yes means yes and her no means no, not because she's cold or detached, but because she knows herself. Purposefulness isn't about having an inflexible 5-year plan. It's about being guided by a deeper alignment with who she is and what she values. When she says she wants a relationship, it's not just to fill loneliness or keep up appearances. It's because she is ready to pour into something intentional. This woman's purposefulness means she's selective, but not in a superficial way. She's not measuring people by status, income, or aesthetic. She's measuring by alignment. Does this connection nourish what she's cultivating in her life? Does it reflect her deepest values? When you're with her, you feel this unmistakably. She's not desperate to be liked. She's not running after temporary highs or fleeting pleasures. She invests where there's substance, and she moves away from what feels hollow. Purposefulness means she doesn't waste your time or hers. She communicates clearly. She shows up fully present because she has chosen to, and when she withdraws, it's with respect and clarity, not ghosting or emotional games. You might find this disarming at first, especially if you've grown used to ambiguity or mixed signals. But it's a beautiful thing to encounter, a woman who lives with intent, who is discerning not because she's cold, but because she honors herself deeply. This virtue demands that you too live with intention around her. You can't drift aimlessly into her life and expect to stay. Her purposefulness sets the tone. You either show up fully or you move on, and that's part of what makes her rare. Because purposefulness requires saying no as often as saying yes. It requires walking away from things that don't fit, not out of arrogance, but out of respect for one's own path. So far, we've felt how this rare woman's self-possession, emotional generosity, emotional resilience, and now her purposefulness all create a texture of depth around her, a gravity that draws you in, challenges you, and reminds you what it means to connect with someone who is fully awake to their own life. There's nothing casual about the way she engages with herself, with you, with life itself. Her rarity isn't in a surface detail or a fleeting impression. It's in the quality of her presence, the discipline of her emotions, and the intention behind every word, every glance, every choice. The more we lean into this reflection, the clearer it becomes that what makes her rare isn't some innate gift. It's the cultivated result of a woman who has chosen again and again to do the difficult work of living consciously. And as we sit together in this reflection, you can feel how these virtues build upon one another. They aren't isolated traits, they create a constellation, a way of being that defines this rare woman's presence in the world. You begin to realize she is not hurried by trends. She isn't swayed by every passing emotion or impulse. Her life moves at a different rhythm, one that is deeply rooted in clarity and care, and that rhythm is shaped by another essential virtue that sets her apart. 5. Boundaries with kindness. Most people misunderstand boundaries as barriers, as walls that keep people out. But this rare woman understands something different. Boundaries are not about rejection. They are about protection, not just of herself, but of the space between her and others, where love and connection can grow authentically. Her boundaries are firm but never cruel. When she says no, it's without guilt but also without aggression. She doesn't owe you an elaborate explanation. Her no is quiet, self-assured, and kind. You'll feel this in the way she navigates conversations. She doesn't let people overstep, but she also doesn't need to dominate. When something feels misaligned for her, she gently but clearly redirects. When she feels disrespected, she doesn't lash out, she simply steps back. And perhaps what makes this virtue so beautiful is that it's done without resentment. She's not defensive or guarded, she's simply clear. She knows what is hers to hold and what is not. In love, this quality creates a profound sense of safety. You always know where you stand with her. You never have to wonder whether she's silently tolerating something while building up secret resentment. She communicates with grace but also precision. You begin to trust her no as much as you trust her yes, and that makes the connection itself feel cleaner, lighter, easier to navigate. This ability to hold boundaries is deeply stoic because it requires discipline and a sense of self, sovereignty. It means living by values, not moods. It means understanding that love without boundaries quickly turns into chaos. This virtue allows her to offer love freely without fear of losing herself in it. And this is why time with her feels refreshing. You're engaging with someone who isn't tangled in people, pleasing or passive, aggressive behaviors. Her boundaries create freedom for authentic connection. And this leads naturally to yet another rare quality she embodies, one that is quietly revolutionary in an age of distraction and shallow attention. 6. Attentiveness to the present moment. This rare woman knows how to be here, truly here. When she sits with you, you feel seen, not as an object of fleeting attention, but as a whole person. Her mind is not darting between notifications. Her gaze isn't constantly checking for the next best thing. She is attentive, not because she's performing interest, but because she has cultivated the discipline to be present. This is what makes time with her so magnetic. You feel like the only person in the room, and it's not just about being attentive to you. It's about her attentiveness to life itself. She savors her coffee slowly. She notices small details others overlook. She listens with curiosity rather than judgment. This attentiveness extends to her romantic life as well. She notices when something feels off and has the courage to name it gently. She notices when your energy changes and asks about it with genuine care. She notices the little things you do and acknowledges them, not out of obligation, but because she is awake to your presence. In a world that pulls us in 1,000 directions every second, her ability to stay attentive makes her rare. It takes discipline to resist distraction. It takes courage to be fully present when being absent has become the norm. And when you're in her presence, you feel this difference viscerally. Conversations are richer, silences are more comfortable, affection feels deeper because it isn't rushed or transactional. Her attentiveness is a kind of love in itself, a love that says, you matter enough for me to give you my full attention right now. And isn't that what we all long for at the core? To feel deeply seen, not through perfection or performance, but through the quiet intimacy of shared attention. Her attentiveness teaches you something too. That presence is the greatest gift we can offer anyone, and that real connection cannot happen without it. In this way, her boundaries with kindness and attentiveness to the present moment work together to create relationships that feel safe, spacious, and alive. She is never lost in the noise. She is fully here, with herself, with you, with life. And this presence is precisely what makes her unforgettable. And as we continue reflecting on what makes this woman so rare, it becomes clear that her rarity isn't about isolation or detachment from life. It's about the quality with which she lives, the way she honors her own values while remaining open to genuine connection. She isn't chasing perfection, and yet she is deeply intentional. And it's precisely this intentionality that leads us into the next quality that defines her. 7. Integrity of word and action. There's something quietly powerful about a woman whose words and actions are in alignment. In a world where so many speak but don't follow through, where promises are made casually and broken just as easily, this rare woman stands apart, not because she's flawless, but because she is consistent. When she says she will call, she does. When she expresses care, it isn't hollow. It's reflected in how she treats you, even in the small moments that no one else notices. Her apologies are real, her commitments sincere. This consistency creates trust not just between you and her, but in the relationship itself. You can feel her reliability in the way she moves through life. She doesn't cancel at the last minute without care. She doesn't overpromise and underdeliver, and she doesn't offer empty reassurances just to soothe discomfort in the short term. Her integrity means she chooses honesty even when it's uncomfortable, clarity even when it would be easier to remain vague, and accountability even when no one is watching. You'll notice that she doesn't tolerate dishonesty or flakiness in herself, and this naturally sets a tone in her relationships. She invites you, without demanding, to live at that same level of consistency. Her integrity is a form of emotional generosity as well. It spares you confusion, misinterpretation, second guessing. With her you feel safe, not because there are no challenges or disagreements, but because you know where she stands. And there's something rare and beautiful about being with someone whose life is one continuous flow of authenticity, whose actions back up her words again and again. This virtue is deeply stoic in its discipline. It requires constant self-checking, asking, am I living in accordance with what I say I value? Am I showing up fully for this moment, this relationship, this promise? That kind of woman is unforgettable because she makes you feel you can rely on something real, something that doesn't shift with moods or convenience. And as rare and beautiful as this virtue is, it leads naturally into the final quality that truly sets this woman apart. A quality that is like the glue holding all her other virtues together. 8. Capacity for forgiveness. Now, you might expect this rare woman to be uncompromising, to draw firm lines and walk away at the first sign of failure. But her rarity lies in something far softer and far stronger, her ability to forgive, not because she's naive or weak, but because she understands that life is messy and people are imperfect. Her forgiveness isn't careless. She doesn't forget patterns that harm her. She doesn't excuse betrayal or tolerate repeated disrespect. But when mistakes happen, when a hurt is real but repairable, she holds space for grace. She forgives in a way that acknowledges the wound but also allows healing. She forgives because she values peace over prolonged bitterness. She forgives because she knows that to love is to risk disappointment, and that no deep relationship is possible without that risk. And her forgiveness is not just outward, it is inward too. She forgives herself. She doesn't live trapped in self, blame, or regret. She recognizes when she has fallen short and makes amends, with others and with herself, and then she lets go. That letting go is part of what makes her energy feel light, clean, unburdened. She isn't dragging an invisible weight of resentments into each new conversation. She meets you here in this moment, free from yesterday's shadows. In love, this means arguments don't linger unnecessarily. It means hurtful words can be repaired with care. It means the relationship itself has room to breathe and grow because it isn't weighed down by unresolved wounds. Her capacity for forgiveness is a discipline, a courageous choice to soften where bitterness might have hardened her, a choice to release what no longer serves her peace. And being in relationship with a woman like this teaches you too about grace. It invites you to look at yourself and ask, where am I holding on too tightly? Where can I soften? Where can I allow repair instead of revenge? These final two virtues, integrity of word and action and capacity for forgiveness, complete the constellation of qualities that define the rarest woman. A woman whose rarity is not accidental or performative, but the result of intentional living, daily discipline, and emotional courage. As you reflect on all of these qualities together, you begin to sense the deeper truth that this rare woman is not merely someone to admire or seek, but also someone to emulate, someone whose virtues can inspire your own journey, regardless of gender, regardless of relationship status, because ultimately these are human virtues. They are what makes love deep, what makes connection resilient, what makes life itself feel richer and more meaningful. And as these virtues settle in your mind, what becomes so clear is how rare they truly are, not because people don't want to embody them, but because each of these virtues requires deliberate cultivation to live with self-possession, emotional generosity, emotional resilience, purposefulness, boundaries with kindness, attentiveness to the present, integrity of word and action, and a capacity for forgiveness. This isn't something that happens accidentally. This is the outcome of years of learning, of choosing not to be swept up in the noise of modern dating culture. This rare woman knows that love is never just chemistry. It's not performance or superficial gamesmanship, it's depth. And when you encounter a woman like this, the entire texture of the relationship changes. There's less noise, less guessing, less posturing. Everything feels cleaner, clearer, calmer. You find yourself wanting to rise not because she asks you to, but because her presence demands it quietly, beautifully. You become aware of how different the energy feels when someone is not seeking to impress you, but simply showing up as they are, anchored, kind, resilient, fully present. There's no drama designed to manipulate your emotions, no passive-aggressive remarks meant to guilt you, no hidden agendas disguised as affection. This kind of woman makes you reflect on yourself. She makes you question the ways you might have been showing up half-heartedly, distracted, withholding, afraid of vulnerability. She doesn't force that reflection on you, but her very way of being invites it, because in her presence there is nowhere to hide behind charm or bravado. Her honesty and grace draw honesty and grace out of you too, and what's more, her rarity doesn't make her unreachable. It makes her invaluable. There's a temptation to think that a woman like this is so rare she must be aloof or unavailable, but that's not true. She's present, she's engaged, she's loving, but she is simply selective. Selective not in a superficial way, but in a deeply principled way. She invests where there is mutual respect, emotional maturity, and alignment. She doesn't cling or chase, but she does receive and reciprocate where love is real. And in this sense, the rarest woman is actually one of the most liberating women you can meet. Her boundaries free you from confusion. Her self-possession frees you from power games. Her attentiveness makes you feel seen. Her forgiveness makes you feel safe enough to show up imperfectly. But that liberation comes with responsibility. Because once you've experienced love at this level, grounded, calm, generous, it's almost impossible to return to the chaotic, unclear, game-playing patterns you may have accepted before. She raises the standard not through demand, but simply through example. And perhaps what's most beautiful is that these qualities are available to anyone who chooses to live with this same discipline, this same grace. Whether you are a man seeking this kind of woman or a woman seeking to embody these virtues yourself, the path is the same: daily discipline. Daily honesty, daily choice. It means asking yourself hard but necessary questions. Am I showing up with self-possession, or am I reactive and scattered? Am I being emotionally generous, or am I withholding affection to protect my ego? Am I resilient, or do I crumble when things feel uncertain? Am I living purposefully, or am I distracted and misaligned? Am I setting boundaries with kindness, or am I tolerating too much in silence? Am I attentive to the present, or am I checked out, scrolling, unavailable? Do my words and actions align? Am I cultivating forgiveness, or am I clinging to resentment that weighs me down? These are not easy questions to answer, but they are the questions that shape a rare life and rare love. When you meet a woman who has done this work, you recognize her immediately, not because she advertises it, but because you can feel it. In the calmness of her presence, in the warmth of her gaze, in the clarity of her communication, in the strength of her kindness. There's a reason she feels rare. It's because she is, not because she was born that way, but because she has chosen this path step by step, often in moments no one else has witnessed. And when you truly encounter a woman like this, she changes the way you think about love itself. It no longer feels like something chaotic, something you have to chase or trick your way into. It feels like something mature, grounded, mutual, respectful. It feels like home. And isn't that what we're all searching for beneath it all? Not just attraction, not just passion, but a connection that feels calm, clear, honest, strong. This is the gift of the rarest woman, not just what she brings to your life, but what she inspires within you. Because, in the end, It's not about finding her. It's about being ready for her. And so here we are sitting quietly with the understanding that the rarest woman in the world is not rare because of her looks, her charm, or anything the world tends to praise at first glance. She's rare because of how she lives consciously, deliberately, honestly. She carries herself with self-possession, offering emotional generosity, rooted in resilience, guided by purpose. She honors boundaries with kindness, pays deep attention to the present, moves with integrity, and chooses forgiveness, not to excuse harm, but to liberate herself from carrying the weight of past wounds. Her rarity is a reflection of emotional discipline, of mastery, of the willingness to remain soft where life might have hardened her, strong where love requires strength, and patient where connection demands time. But here's the most beautiful truth of all. These virtues are not locked away in her DNA. They are not exclusive to some chosen few. They are available to anyone, any woman who desires to embody them, any man who seeks to appreciate and recognize them, any human being willing to do the inner work required to live intentionally with grace, and that realization can change everything. It means that the rarest woman is rare because she has chosen a different path. She has chosen to be intentional where others are reactive. She has chosen kindness where others lash out. She has chosen presence where others are distracted. She has chosen boundaries where others say yes too quickly. She has chosen forgiveness where others cling to resentment. Each of these is a choice, and the more she chooses this path, the more magnetic, beautiful, and truly rare she becomes. This is why, when you are in her presence, you feel it. Her energy doesn't demand your attention, it quietly holds it. Her conversations aren't superficial, they invite depth. Her affection doesn't seek to possess you, it allows you to breathe. You find that you become better simply by being around her, not because she tries to fix you or mold you, but because her way of being invites you into a deeper authenticity with yourself. You laugh more honestly, you speak more carefully, you listen more fully, you love more bravely. Because the rarest woman reminds you what it feels like to love and be loved as you truly are, not for performance, not for potential, but for presence. And maybe as you reflect on this, something stirs within you, a quiet, almost uncomfortable awareness that this is the love you've been longing for all along. Not the roller coaster, not the drama, not the endless chasing of validation, but a deep, grounded, peaceful connection, a connection that feels like coming home. But as we close this conversation, I want to leave you with this thought. If you desire to find this rare woman, or if you desire to become her, it begins with you. It begins with cultivating your own self-possession. It begins with your own generosity, your own resilience, your own boundaries, your own presence. It begins with your own integrity and your own willingness to forgive. The rarest love is born not when two perfect people meet, but when two people meet each other from a place of self-awareness, respect, emotional maturity, and a desire to nurture, not control. Connection, that is the space where these 8 virtues come alive. That is the space where depth replaces drama, where peace replaces anxiety, where clarity replaces confusion. And this is where you get to decide, will you live with this kind of intention? Will you honor these virtues, not just in others, but in yourself? Because the rarest woman is not some distant ideal. She's simply the woman who has chosen to rise above distraction, noise, manipulation, and ego, and who has chosen instead to walk a path of grace, honesty, strength, and love. And whether you are seeking her or becoming her, you are on the right path by simply beginning to recognize these qualities for what they are: rare, beautiful, powerful. So as we close today, I want to thank you for being here, for sitting with this conversation, for reflecting deeply, for opening your heart and mind to this kind of love. If this has resonated with you, I would love for you to share your thoughts, your reflections, or even your own experiences in the comments below. And if you want more conversations like this, real, intimate, thoughtful explorations of love, dating, and connection, Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Here's to living with depth. Here's to showing up intentionally. Here's to recognizing and becoming the rarest love in the world. Because you're not just worthy of it, you're capable of it.